It just doesn't look like the Juggernaut to me. It looks more like Maui from Moana. Check this out. What can I say except you're welcome? Hey guys, it's DT. Welcome back to the channel. I know I say this a lot over here, but today we're going to be taking a look at another big one. This is another highly anticipated statue. It is the Juggernaut versus Colossus quarter scale diorama. Came in 2 giant boxes. Over here we have the Juggernaut box. It says Cane Marco. It lists his height at 9 feet 5 inches. His weight at 1,900 pounds. He is classified as being a mutant who is unstoppable. And even FedEx couldn't stop this box. They put a nice big hole right in his eye. And then over here we have the Colossus box. Pyotr Rasputin. He's got a height of 7 feet 5 inches and a weight of 500 pounds. He's also a mutant and he is strong like steel. One of the cool things about these boxes is I didn't know I knew how to read Russian, but I guess I can because this one says box 1 and this one that looks like Russian says box 2. But enough about the boxes, let's go ahead and open this up. Okay guys, I got everything unboxed here. There are some massive pieces, especially these torsos. The base is huge. Of course, Colossus is big. And then we have some of these smaller pieces as well. And I'll give you guys some of my thoughts once we have this whole thing assembled. So let's start off by, I need to put the turntable up here. So I'm gonna move this base a little bit. It is big, it is heavy. Let's throw this up here. We have an AC adapter for this one because it has a light up. And here's how the Sentinel would be if he was standing up. And then here's a look at the bottom. They only made 60 of these. This one is number 16. It just barely fits on this 24-inch turntable. It hangs over a little bit, but the actual bottom of the base fits on it. It is pretty high, which is gonna elevate an already pretty large statue. All right, so we'll start off here with Juggernaut's legs. He's got one big boot, and then the other boot is kind of getting phased into the ground. So they didn't actually have to sculpt the second boot because it's right here. So that one has a big keyhole, and then there's a peg on his right foot that goes into the Sentinel. There we go. We're gonna put the armored torso on. This is probably the one I will be using. The other one kind of just came as a bonus, but these are massive. Kind of reminds me of that legendary Beast Hulk statue. Unfortunately, this one didn't come with an extra torso stand, which would have been really cool. I might have to make one. He's got a slight twist. So you can already tell this is going to be a very tall statue. So next, looks like we're going to be putting on the little chest armor. So that's going to come over his head. So here we have an exposed portrait with no hair. So we need this, lightweight. It's got a magnetic key on the top, which keys into the top of his head. I think this goes on the inside of this. All right, and then we've got Colossus here. He's got 2 different hand options for his right hand. He's got a big keyhole on his side, as well as some fingerprints where the fingers are going to go. Gonna fit in just like that. So it doesn't actually make contact with the head, but it's close enough. Then he's got a clenched left fist ready for a punch. We're just gonna go up here. All right, so then we have Kitty Pryde. She's on the back side here with the left leg. She just has a portrait, and then she has a hand here. You should probably do the arm first. It's underneath the hair. And that's going to be reaching around the back of Juggernaut. And then we can add the portrait in. And then we've got these little sentinel pieces. I don't know if you're supposed to key this in before you put his foot in. If that's the case, we might be in trouble. This one covers the little space behind his foot. I think that's where the light up is as well. All right, so there is another key I'm seeing, but it's under his foot. I'm gonna have to lift this guy out. Should I take this guy off in one piece? I better move Kitty's head out of the way. All right, hang on, big boy. Let's get these keys in here. That one goes there. Where's that other one? Where'd the other one go? That one goes in there. Ugh. Woo! So in case you guys are assembling this thing at home, make sure you stick those two pieces by the foot in before you drop them in. All right, let's stick this big boy back on. So there's like a round circle with a magnet in there. And there's a little hole right here under that piece we keyed in earlier. So I'll give this thing a spin on the turntable to give you guys a look, and then I'll come back and give you my thoughts. Okay guys, here it is, the Juggernaut versus Colossus diorama. Probably one of the most dynamic pieces I have in my collection. This thing is huge, it's crazy. There's a lot of cool things going on here, a lot of things to like about this piece. There are a few flaws too, some things I'd like to see done a little bit differently that I'll point out in a little bit. But let's take a look at this monster. So down here we have a sentinel base. It's not just a sentinel hand or a sentinel head. We've got a whole sentinel torso, or at least part of a sentinel torso. Part of it has been cut off on one side. The head has been ripped off. The arms have been removed, and it is just getting crushed here by these two giants. A lot of detail in the sculpt. We have all this crushed metal, exposed wiring. We even have this cross section showing the inner workings of the sentinel. On one side, we've got, it looks like Wolverine's claw marks on it. So the main color of this sentinel is kind of a lighter blue shade. Like many have said, I would have preferred a little bit darker blue. Maybe they did that to contrast Juggernaut a little bit better, since he is fairly dark. I do like the metallic finish and how it reflects the light. The wiring and kind of ripped off parts could have used a little bit more definition. Over on this side, we kind of have this molten metal that's been sliced off probably by Cyclops, and it's got this fiery glow to it. We do also get a Kitty Pryde coming out of the Sentinel and kind of dragging the Juggernaut down into the body. And when we are able to see her, she looks pretty good. She's got multiple textures on her suit, some nice definition in her hair. I did have an issue with her placement, which I'll go into in a little bit, but I think she looks really good when you can actually see her. They also have some of the statue credits engraved right on the side of the Sentinel as well. So this one does have a light up. It's a little strange that the AC adapter plugs into the front of the base, and then there's a little button right here that turns on the light, and it just illuminates the light on the Sentinel's chest. There are different modes, everything from a flicker to kind of a breathing light. And if you want a little bit more light, you can remove this little cover, but I probably won't use the light at all. And then we're moving up to the Juggernaut. This guy's got a lot of detail in his boots. I think that's probably one of my favorite parts about this statue, are these massive feet. They've got some leather texture in there. along with all these little straps and buckles. Got this kind of massive armored look in the front, some nice shoelaces. Very cool. You know, that's one of my favorite parts about Juggernaut are his boots, whether they're the old kind of pirate swashbuckling boots that he used to have, or this modern take. Very cool. Juggernaut needs some big feet, and this guy's got them. Then we're moving up to his pants, which have this really cool raised pattern. It continues up his leg. He's also got some very thick armor. I like the battle damage, all the straps that connect it to his leg. Underneath his leg, we have this kind of a line pattern. I think that looks really cool. He's got some holes in his pants as well, where we can see through to his skin. Massive calves. Then we move up. He's got a leathery looking belt, nice silver belt buckle. Going up his torso, he's got more of that same texture, same coloring, some additional straps, buckles, and armor. One of the areas I thought could use a little bit more detail were these straps that kind of go from his chest down underneath his lats onto his back. I don't know if some extra detail could have been sculpted in there, maybe some stitching or texture on those straps, or possibly just some extra paint. So those look a little bit flat, as do some of these buckles. It's really odd because Juggernaut is super detailed, and then we have a few of these elements where they're kind of muddy. So his whole chest armor kind of pops on as a separate piece. You know, whether it's one piece or not, I think it looks cool. I like how they did the helmet on this one. It's not just a helmet that's been bolted on to his neck and shoulders. It has kind of this layered effect with this metal collar, which has some numbers etched into the side. The Uncanny X-Men number 12, 7, 1965, which is from this comic book right here. It's the first appearance of the Juggernaut. Cool Easter egg. Then we have the Juggernaut's arms. These things are massive, starting with these pumpkin-like deltoids leading into some massive biceps and triceps, huge forearms, and then something a little bit different with this piece that we're not used to seeing on Juggernaut statues are these hand wraps. And then in addition to that, he's got these brass knuckles that say unstoppable. So very interesting take. I like the kind of a mixture of dried up and fresh blood on his knuckles. These bandages also have blood on them, pretty gruesome. His fingernails look pretty gnarly. This guy's got veins galore, very darkened veins going through his body. I do think that the skin tone on this guy is a little bit on the orange side, sort of like how I felt with the Bane diorama. I think it works. I don't know if he's been rubbing the self-tanner on, but I think they could have toned down that orange hue and it would have looked really nice. Another thing is he's got this pretty pronounced texture throughout his skin, which I like a lot. However, on all the areas where the pants or clothing is ripped and you can see his skin through it, that area is very smooth. I would expect that same texture on the rest of his body to also continue to these areas as well. But I think overall, Juggernaut looks really good for a modernized version of him. Then we've got Colossus up here. I really like Colossus's pose, the sculpt on this guy. You get a lot of movement in this piece from both of these guys, but Colossus really sells it with this jumping pose. And whenever you have a diorama with Colossus, he's usually the bigger guy. But here, he is dwarfed by the giant Juggernaut. Some crazy big boots, similarly armored to the Juggernaut. Love these massive legs. He's got a mixed texture on his little shorts, the leathery red. This guy's even got veins on his metal portions. When Colossus takes on his metal form, I don't know if these veins are metal. I know he has a metal heart inside his body, so I guess it would make sense that he would have metal veins as well. He's also got some cool scratches and battle damage. Now, some of the things I wasn't too keen on with this piece included some of the color choices. I would have maybe liked to see a little bit more brown on Juggernaut. Here he is definitely a little bit more red. I don't really mind it too much. There are some darker areas in his pants and with all these straps and things. So I think the thing that bothers me the most about the color of these guys is that the reddish color on Juggernaut is the same red on Colossus. Almost like they bought the stuff from the same armor store. So I'm a big believer in the idea that if you have two characters fighting, they should not match color for color unless they're on the same team wearing the same uniform or something. Here we have a villain and a hero, and it's very unlikely that they would have the exact same shade of red. Out of all the different shades, these two guys have matching armor. It doesn't really make sense. You know, maybe a brighter red on Colossus. Not only does it help distinguish the two different figures, but it's also more realistic. It's sort of like when I unboxed that Spider-Man diorama and most of the villains in that piece were green. They made a point of making each character a different shade of green. So even though they're all green, they all look different, which made it look a lot better than if everyone had matching green colors. So the overall pose, I think, looks fantastic. A little bit reminiscent of that Hulk versus Wolverine diorama, but of course these are two massive quarter scale figures, and the difference here being that Colossus is being held up by the single arm of the Juggernaut. So one of the things I don't like about this statue actually happens to be one of the things I like about it, if that makes any sense, but it is the overall placement of everything. So after taking a look at this thing, I came to the conclusion that this piece was not designed for one particular angle. It was meant to be on some kind of pedestal and for you to be walking around it. That's not always possible with people's display setups. Most of the time, collectors are going to be putting these pieces on some kind of shelf or platform with a wall in the back and other pieces on the side. So it's not going to be really all that convenient to be looking around the sides to the back of a piece. I love that you're able to find different things as you walk around this statue. For that reason, it is very cool. However, if you're displaying this thing like I just mentioned, you're only going to be able to see a very small portion of the full piece of art. I think I would probably set it up something like this. You can't really see the Juggernaut's face all that well from this angle, but if you were to kind of spin it, you run into the problem here where you only see his front leg. And that creates, for me, kind of an imbalance. It doesn't look like Juggernaut has much of a base as far as his stance is concerned. That's why I like to see at least a little bit of that back leg. So having the piece in this position actually creates a few different problems. One is you're not able to see Kitty Pryde because she's back here on this back leg, kind of facing the wrong direction. Now I think if she was flipped and she was more on this side of his leg, or at least peeking over or grabbing up higher on his leg so we can actually see her, I think that would have been cool. The other thing is displaying it like this is going to make this piece very deep. When we look at the base by itself, we can see it's kind of elongated. This would be the easiest way to display it on some kind of shelf, but it doesn't really give us a great angle. We can see Kitty Pryde from this angle, but what are we going to do? We have to turn it. So the more we turn it this way, where this gets in front, the deeper the statue gets. But it's not just the base that makes it deep. What makes it deep is actually the little ponytail here on Kitty Pryde, because this hair adds another few inches to the depth of the piece. If you just made the hair flow a different way, we could have saved a lot of space. So if we say this is the best angle, we have to measure from the corner of this little purple piece all the way to the tip of Kitty Pryde's hair is about 25 to 26 inches, which is pretty significant. Typically, I don't like to see statues that are more than 24 inches deep. Most countertops are only 24 inches and most shelves are probably less than 20 inches. You're probably gonna have to display this thing on either some kind of custom shelving or a table of some sort. I guess you could just take her head off if you really had to and save some room that way. If they've moved her somewhere else, would have made displaying this thing a lot easier. But you know, I get why she's on this side. It's more of an Easter egg, and like I said, I think this piece was really meant for the viewer to be able to walk around the whole thing. That's this torso. We do have a few switch outs here, which I'm not sure are quite necessary, but I'll go ahead and switch it out just to show you guys. I will probably be displaying it like this, but let's take a look at this other option. First off, we're gonna have to remove Mr. Colossus here. Very nice fit on the palm of the hand. And then I think we can just lift this whole thing out. We don't have to remove his head or anything. So this guy just lifts off like that. So this guy assembles very similar to those Hulks that I just reviewed. And then this thing just goes on top. Then we need to change Colossus's hand to a punching fist. And then we fit this guy back on. All right, so here we have option 2. It wasn't really an option when you bought this thing. It came with 2 or nothing. So here we have an unmasked Juggernaut, no armor on his upper body, but he does have all these tattoos, kind of like a tribal tattoo going on his arms, his chest, and his back. So it makes for a very interesting statue. I'm not really sure where this concept came from. I mean, it looks cool. I just don't know if people would automatically see Juggernaut when they're looking at this. The boots are still there. However, I think what's really lacking is that dome helmet. It's what becomes synonymous with the Juggernaut. So this one, he's got these cool tattoos. I'm not really sure what they're depicting. I don't know if it has anything to do with the Sidorak or if it's just some kind of cool design. On the back, we can read unstoppable going across his lats. The tattoo looks pretty clean for the most part. It is actually sculpted onto his skin, so it's not just paint. The tattoo portion is actually raised up. We get a better look at his abdominals and obliques. Now, this guy comes with 2 different portraits. The one that he's got right now is a little bit more bloody. He's got some cuts along with some blood in his mouth, whereas this one right here, he's just got some blood on some of his teeth. He's got shorter cut hair, a little bit less defined around the sides and back. I have kind of mixed feelings about this one. I mean, it looks great. It just doesn't look like the Juggernaut to me. It looks more like Maui from Moana. You know? I think I have an idea. Check this out. Let's see what this looks like. I just made the coolest Moana statue ever created. Look at that. It is now Colossus versus Maui. I might actually display this thing like this. What can I say except you're welcome? Gee, there's the look right there. So I think they did a huge disservice to all the collectors by not including the curly hair, because I think that makes this torso. Without the hair, no go. Gotta go with this guy. But with the hair, I think it works. Now, if only somebody could make a custom Moana to go into this guy's hand, I think this statue would be perfect. Okay guys, so that was a look at the custom Colossus versus the Juggernaut diorama. Crazy piece. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Also, if you're not subscribed yet, subscribe. We're almost at 100K. If you're already subscribed, one way to help is to hit that thumbs up on this video. It helps with the algorithm, helps get the word out there that this content is here for you guys. But as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.